Hello and welcome to the Chateau de Lalande, where this week I would love to tell you all about the Artists of Lalande. Those of you who live in England and who watch Escape to the Chateau DIY will have seen us. We were on TV this past week and we were restoring our stables and turning them into a new art studio. That's been something that I've wanted to do for a long time in memory of my father, who was the most amazing painter. In the future, I'd like to use that space to host artists in residence and art retreats because I just love to see art being created around me. When I was growing up, I took completely for granted the fact that every week beautiful new sketches, designs and paintings would arrive in my life courtesy of my father, and I thought that life was like that for everybody. After his death, it shocked me so much how there was less beauty in the world, and what a wonderful thing he'd been doing for us all of these years. Behind me you can see my favourite painting by my father, which he did when I was about 18, 19. I was at university when he painted this, and I immediately took it to university and had it in my student digs, and it's lived with me ever since in my bedroom, and that's where we are today, in my bedroom. And this is just opposite my bed, so it's the first thing I see when I wake up in the morning. On either side are paintings by one of my best friends, Oliver Strong. I met Oliver at university when I was 18 years old. He's been such a huge part of my life, and he knew my father well. And although their styles are different, I see a similarity in their extraordinary use of colour. Both of them are masters at using colour, and they're not afraid to do so. A lot of you will recognise this one because it is in our dining room here usually. I've just carted it upstairs to show you in this video. And on Escape to the Chateau DIY, when we opened the art retreat, Oliver brought me this beautiful portrait of myself. I absolutely love it. He's captured a very still moment. In one of my vlogs, I showed Oliver working on this, taking some photos, because that's how he works. He takes photos and then goes home, reworks them, and makes his paintings from those. So we can go back through time now, and I'll show you a clip of him doing the photo shoot that resulted in this beautiful portrait.
Beautiful.
Have you finished yet, Oliver?
Yeah. Well, it's more a question of whether you finished.
What are we going until I finish the book? Are
This
we
is
staying here
perfect.
to the book? Oliver is not the first person to have painted a portrait of me. My father also did so, and I will show you that next and tell you a little bit about his art. Here are more of my father's paintings, which show the progression of his styles over the years. This is his early style, very medieval, because as a child my father was in a family that didn't have much money at all, and he didn't have anyone teaching him art. But he was able to go to the Victoria and Albert Museum whenever he wanted, because in England the museums are free to everyone. And he would go and just sketch the medieval paintings there and try to learn from them. So his first style was heavily inspired by the medieval art that he loved so much as a child. And I could stare at his medieval paintings all day. The detail is exquisite. He did some pen and ink drawings as well in this style. And I can't believe that anyone could do that with ink. It's just too perfect. This is one of my favourite paintings, and it's in our winter salon. Then he moved on to very, very bold, slightly more abstract paintings, but they were almost always figurative. And towards the end of his life, he had moved on to softer colours. This is a painting that, as you can see, is unfinished because he was halfway through this portrait of me when he died. It remains one of the most precious things in my life. I love this painting so much, I can't even describe how much. He painted me holding Lalande, showing that I was caring for the chateau and that it was under my guardianship. And I think that this painting does portray the love that I have for this chateau. But I think more importantly to me, it shows the love of a father for his daughter. Although it's wonderful that my father moved to Lalande with me and loved this place as much as I did, one of the things that saddens me is that he died before we got to the stage of being able to properly decorate the house. So he didn't see his paintings up on the walls of this building. And so he didn't realise just how important a part of the chateau decoration his art would be. Anyone who's visited Lalande will know that every room has one of his paintings. They're everywhere and they're so joyful and so colourful and gentle. I think they represent the best in humanity. He just wanted to see the beautiful in the world, and some of them are definitely a little bit naughty. I guess the one behind me is a case in point, but that's part of the beauty of life too. There was never cruelty or evil in any of his work. There was no darkness, and I think that I naturally gravitate to painting that reflect the best side of human nature because of my father. When my father died, I presumed that that was it. There would be no more art in my life. But I couldn't have been more wrong, because I'm surrounded by people who are very, very talented artists. You saw Oliver's paintings, but there's also paintings by Nicholas's family. I bought this chateau with my best friend Nicholas Larkin, whom I met at university. Most of you who watch my vlogs will know him as the elusive Nick, because he's so shy that he doesn't appear in the show Escape to the Chateau DIY, and he won't be seen in my vlog unless he's got a paper bag over his head. His family are all very talented artists, and I will show you some of their work next. There's a very strong artistic tradition running through the female line of Nick's family. Nick's grandmother was really very talented. Both of these paintings are by her. She also was an incredible potter. I love her art. I love the colours that she uses. It's just beautiful. And unlike me with my father, his mother and his sister both inherited the talent of his grandmother, and they're extraordinary illustrators. They make the most exquisite drawings. This is Nick's lovely sister, Joanna Scholes, whom I've known since she was about 17. And here are some of her beautiful limited edition prints. These ones are from her Richmond collection. This is a portrait that she made of me many, many years ago. I think before we even moved into Lalande. She definitely captured the more whimsical side of my nature here. The whole desire to live a fairy tale life is strongly coming across in this portrait. And it just shows the extraordinary detail and precision in her work, and also the imagination. She is an expert with pattern, and since this style she's moved on to a lot of work where patterns tessellate in the most extraordinary ways. Incredibly, these are hand-drawn flower patterns which she then has printed onto silk scarves. And aside from my father and Nick's entire family and Oliver, another huge talent who is regularly at Lalande is my other best friend. I have so many best friends, it's ridiculous. My other best friend, Michael Potts. He was my boyfriend when I first bought Lalande with Nick, and I am so incredibly grateful to him, because so many boyfriends would say, no, you should not be buying a house with another man and moving to another country with them. But that's not what Michael said. He said, this is your dream. This could be your one opportunity to follow it. Buy the chateau and I will fly out every weekend and I will help in any way that I can. And that's what he did. And he's been visiting Lalande all of these years, and finally, 14 years later, he managed to buy into the chateau this year and is now one of the 3 owners with me and Nick, and is making his own apartment in the attic. And I'm going to show you some of his art now. Michael actually studied fine art at university. He was at Rhodes University in South Africa. And when I first met him, his primary artistic output was sketching, especially sketching women. This is one of his early works. And you can see it's a simple sketch of the back of a woman, but he's put it against a beautiful golden background. I really like the juxtaposition of a very simple line drawing with the bling of a golden background. There's something quite Lalande about that. This is part of a series of 3 sketches that he did, which live in the bathroom of our chambre perse. But since then, his art has turned almost exclusively to photography. He is an incredibly talented photographer, and he's now become a Grand Prix photographer, and the lucky thing gets to travel all over the world to every Grand Prix with a special pass to get in to take photos on the grid. He is very, very lucky indeed. But he doesn't exclusively photograph fast-moving vehicles. Ever since we moved in, he's been documenting the changes at Lalande. He's taken many beautiful, really stunning photos of this chateau. He's also a great wildlife photographer because he's South African. Every year he goes on safari and he's built up a stunning collection of wildlife prints. But I think what I love the most are his photos of people, because at all of our parties he's the chief photographer and he's been taking photos of my friends, my family and me for many, many years. This is one that he took in Rhodes when we were on holiday there last year. Some of you will have seen the vlog of that holiday and will have seen that Michael and I discovered an extraordinary abandoned building whilst we were driving around the interior of the island. It was all open, so we snuck inside and I was just in raptures, wishing I could buy the place and bring it back to life. And whilst I was looking around, he took this photograph of me coming down a pretty derelict staircase. And recently somebody asked him if they could buy this photo, so he decided to start selling his photography in limited editions. And I will go back in time and show you a video of him telling me about that idea.
I've got a present for you. Do you want to open it?
Yes, what is it? The abandoned building we found. Michael, that's beautiful.
It's a long shutter speed shot. You can see some blurring around the dress, but I've managed to follow your foot, so that's nice and sharp, and your face is very sharp. But then there's also a little bit of movement in the building, so it gives it the sort of dreamlike scape. It's 3 of 5, limited edition. Here is the certification.
This one's for me.
This one's for you.
And this is my certificate.
Yes.
This is amazing. I love it. Oh, it's got a shiny, sparkly thing on it.
Yeah, that's the hologram. It matches one on the back.
Oh, I'm going to go and get it framed. I wonder if I have a frame that it would work in. I absolutely love it. Thank you.
Pleasure. Happy birthday.
And since he gave me this copy of that photo, I decided to frame it in one of the old frames that I had lying around in the outbuildings, because every time I go to Brocant's, I buy old frames knowing they'll come in useful one day. And I know that most photography is generally shown in black, simple frames with a white mount, and I wanted to go really far away from that tradition because I wanted to juxtapose a new art medium with the way that art's been shown for centuries. And I love that. And it's showing that in this house, photography is as important as art, and we take it seriously and we think it deserves a beautiful frame. I also like the fact that the frame is really in quite a bad state, but it reflects the faded beauty of the building that I'm standing in. So in this case, by sheer fluke, not only did I have a frame that was exactly the same size as the photo, but it perfectly expresses the subject of the photo too, which isn't really me, it's the building. And Michael Potts is not the only extraordinarily talented Michael P in this house, because many of you who watch Escape to the Chateau DIY and my vlogs will of course know the multi-talented Mr. Petherick. Michael Petherick is a great friend of mine who spends a lot of time at Lalande, and he is also an extraordinary artist. Those of you who watched Escape to the Chateau DIY this week on British television will have seen Michael doing amazing Templo panelling in the restoration of one of our bedrooms here. That was his idea, and I have to admit I wasn't that certain that it would work out perfectly, but he completely proved me wrong. It is exquisite. I just wish that he was here enough to be able to do every room in the house like that. But he doesn't just do decorative painting, he's also a very talented artist. And a lot of you will have seen one of the projects that he's most famous for working on, which I'll show you now. I'm sure you all recognise Angela Strawbridge's amazing wallpaper from her Potagerie suite, which is now available to buy. And you can also buy the fabric of this, cushions. It's really stunning. And Michael actually helped her when she was designing this. He helped to bring her designs to life. And I had these 2 pieces of wallpaper framed, and they're in the same bedroom where he's done the Templo panelling. So there's quite a lot of Michael Petherick and Angela Strawbridge in that room. I can see why Angela and Michael have worked so well together, because they both have a love of vintage things, an extraordinary talent, an attention to detail that's exquisite, a love of nature. It was just 2 minds working perfectly together in this case. I think my favourite thing are the little tiny bees coming from the beehive. It's such a beautiful wallpaper in the strong tradition that the French have of taking wonderful garden objects and turning them into beautiful high-level decorative objects. They did that a lot in the 18th century, and this is a perfect modern retelling of that vision. At Christmas last year, he gave me the most gorgeous present, which I'll show you now. It's obviously my initial, and this is the design by William Morris, which Michael painstakingly did by hand and framed for me. And on the back is, "To Stephanie, Merry Christmas 2018, love, Michael Petherick." This is a very precious object in this house. Now I've given you a very quick introduction to all of the artists who come here very regularly and who are a major part of life at Lalande. But of course there are many others who come on holiday from time to time and also make beautiful artworks of the chateau. There's one I really love, which I will show you as well. This was made by my friend Meike van den Akker. And the thing that I love most about this painting is how she's captured life at Lalande. You can see there are tiny little people sitting, cooling their feet in the fountain, which is what we do when it's too hot because we don't have a swimming pool yet. And there's Nicholas and me sitting next to him. And it just perfectly shows the daily life that we have here. And it's very precious to me to see Lalande represented in so many different ways through the eyes of so many artists, because each one of them captures a little part of its soul and shows a different facet to this amazing building and to the people in it. Sadly, I did not inherit any of my father's skills in painting at all. I cannot draw a stick person, but I hope that I've inherited his use of colour in my decoration and that his creativity comes out through me in interior design. It's my greatest wish that Lalande continues to be a place that inspires artists in the years to come, and that the happiness that all of us who live at Lalande feel because of this wonderful house can be turned into art that can touch people all over the world. I hope you've enjoyed this little introduction to the wonderful artists that we host here at Lalande. If you love chateaus as much as I do and enjoy all things beautiful and artistic, then please subscribe to this channel. There will be a lot more like this in future. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday and perhaps you've been inspired to go and create some art today. I wish I could, but instead I think I'll probably make some curtains.